Close is the Belgian submission for Best International Feature at the Oscars, for which it's deservedly nominated. Written and directed by Lucas Dont, it tells the story of childhood friends Leo and Remy, played by Eden Dambrien and Gustave de Viola, in both's feature debut. Dont actually discovered Dambrien on a train, seeing him interact with friends while Lucas listened to music, and instinctively knew that he was looking at the future Leo. He made him an offer there and then, and may turn out to be one of the greatest moments of spontaneous inspiration in the history of cinema. The movie is very, very similar in theme to last year's Un Monde, which tracked how the playground caused a rift between siblings that didn't frankly need to exist. Here early on, it's very clear that Leo and Remy are extremely close childhood friends as we meet them. They're raised in loving, supportive households that allowed them to develop a deeply physically affectionate, boundary-free relationship that is what it is and doesn't actually harm anyone. That is, of course, until they go to high school and questions begin about if they're together or not, if they're gay, which leads to Leo becoming self-conscious and pushing Remy away in small ways that don't go unnoticed, as a rift that quickly becomes devastating develops. And the thing that I appreciated and admired about Close here is it didn't take a side. It really just had empathy with all of its main characters, because nobody is wrong in this rift, which is what makes it not only effective, it makes it believable, it makes it authentic, which makes it engaging, which makes it engrossing, which also makes it tragic in how it turns out. Leo is just a kid. He just wants to be accepted by others here and engage with his more sporting side and kind of his physically competitive side as well. Whereas Remy just wants to keep things as they are and is a bit more quiet and sensitive. We see him being more artistic and being into his music more than that. And the tension of Close lives in the gaps of that point in your life where you're not mature enough and don't have the communication skills to navigate those subtle differences between a friendship. Although I think all of us in some way can relate to those rifts in a friendship, and how, even if we kind of take the friendship for granted at times, how devastating it actually is when a friendship that close begins to tear apart. But again, it is just here. The fact is, it's one conversation away from happening, and a lot of goes unsaid here. It's extraordinary the amount of trust that Dont puts in his actors, especially consider their inexperience at acting. But the end result of that is absolutely incredible. You have moments of big revelation. So, for example, in the middle, there's a moment of big revelation on a bus. Everyone who's seen it knows exactly what I'm talking about here. That's told mainly through silence and facial expression changes. So the characters don't necessarily want to talk about what's happened, but they're both kind of coming to terms with what's happened and realizing it at the same time. And by the time they actually say what happened and confirm it, we already know as an audience. I also admire that it remains ambiguous on whether or not Leo and Remy's relationship is actually romantic, because the truth is, it doesn't matter if it is. These should be allowed to figure out things in their own space, in their own time, privately, and it's only the external influences that challenge their ability to do so. The word stigma gets thrown around a lot these days, perhaps a little cheaply, if I'm being honest, to the point that it loses a lot of its meaning. But this is one of the most powerful on-screen illustrations of the damage that stigma can cause, and the fact that it does so with such soft strokes is absolutely incredible. It doesn't try, and I don't think the word stigma is mentioned once in that, or it's even heavily implied. But again, it is very much based on that, and that is the kind of wedge that drives our characters apart. Both directors and actors do so much with so little. There's small but really effective touches throughout this. Like the two, Leo and Remy, go to sleep early on in the movie. And again, like they establish so much early on. Like we know within a couple of scenes just how close this relationship is, just what like type of relationship it is. Again, they're while remaining ambiguous as to whether it's romantic or not. We know it's very physically affectionate, very physically close, that there is a possibility there, but also that our characters just haven't dealt with that, and they're just enjoying having the friendship and enjoying each other as well. You see in one stage they go to sleep beside each other and they end up kind of in a spoon position, very, very close. But then in the next scene, they go into the schoolyard for the first time, as far as we see anyway. And then what Dont does is he'll pull the camera back and zoom out from our characters as we start to kind of see the world expanding for them, and how now they have to navigate not only their own relationship, but what everyone else may think about their relationship. They're now fitting into this bigger picture. they allow the actors time to breathe in the silence for us to emotionally follow them to where they need to be. And it is fantastic. And at the end of this, I actually can't remember an emotional outpouring from an audience after a movie, especially one for adults, as I experienced it in this one. People leaving the cinema, I'm not exaggerating again, and this wasn't like a full house on a Friday night. This was a Monday afternoon screening. People leaving the cinema were actively needing to hug each other. I walked past one elderly man who was just openly weeping after leaving it. I went to the bathroom afterwards, and like there was 3 of us who were in stalls that had obviously been to the same movie, and you could hear sobbing from the stalls. It was literally the word "not a dry eye" in a house, again, it's something that gets thrown around. It literally wasn't. Everyone was in absolute bits after this. But again, it's not the type of movie that tries to elicit that reaction. It's just real. It's relatable. It's something we can all feel. It goes places that, again, if people's lives haven't gone in that direction, we could easily see how just one decision could have led us to that direction and kind of cause as much damage as it did, and as our characters ended up having to deal with in this movie. And that makes it quietly devastating too. Close is an absolute masterpiece. Bring tissues, but go see this movie immediately. It is remarkable. Absolutely excellent movie. It's probably going to be one of my top 10 movies of the year, if not fighting for top spot. It is amazing. I loved it.